From books to artificial intelligence, Amazon is unstoppable. And as Amazon grows, small business declines. One of the businesses under attack is the independent bookstore. Amazon has claimed to be the largest bookstore since the late 90s, despite them being more of a book broker. Of course, when you're one of the biggest companies in the world, you can afford to call yourself whatever you like. And shopping on Amazon is easy. You type in what you want and poof, there it is. But I don't know what I want. In fact, I haven't read a book since 2020. I barely remember what it feels like to turn a page. When I first started reading, my dad handed me a copy of The Hobbit, and I trusted his recommendation because I was like 7 and he was my dad. But Amazon is just an impersonal search engine that won't stop recommending books I've never even heard of. The Purifier, The Billionaire Curse. What are these books, and is Amazon becoming self-aware? The Billionaire Curse, a critique on Jeff Bezos himself on the front page of Amazon? The man shoving thousands of search results down my throat, trying to take my money? Really, where am I supposed to start reading again? The classics too great, nonfiction too boring, and Amazon a cluster. We'll start by visiting small independent bookstores and talking to writers and professors along the way. Because how will I ever be a famous writer or director if I can't even finish a book? We just rolled up to the first bookstore. Should be a fun time. Let's check this place out. This is Cornerstone Bookshop, and it is truly one of a kind. A basement full of books, along with 2 more floors stacked with books. At first, all the books are a little jarring. Walking around, the question, where to start, was ringing in my ears. Wait, let's rewind. This is Bucky. Probably the world's best English teacher. Think John Keating, Dead Poet Society.
Words and language. No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world.
I thought I'd ask him how to get back into reading.
So I was just wondering, because I think you're probably the perfect person to ask, what would be your advice for anyone trying to get back into books?
Well, I guess my advice to get back into books might be to revisit something that was really important to you. You know, for me, The Catcher in the Rye was a big, important book, and I think if you wanted to go back to that, On the Road by Jack Kerouac was a really important book that I read when I was in high school. Maybe that would get the spirit going. I think finding things that are topical now too would be a really good way to get back into books. You know, to find through books a deeper thing than what you're finding in the headlines.
To get through books, a deeper meaning than what you're getting in the headlines. That's what I've been missing, a deeper meaning to life. That's what I'm trying to find again. That wonder and curiosity life used to have. Back in Cornerstone Bookshop, shoulder deep in books I'll probably never get to read, I sought out the book that felt familiar. The author that first opened up a wardrobe to a world I've never been to. Okay, just finished up at the Cornerstone Bookshop, one of the favorite bookshops I've ever been in, and I picked up the next 3 books in the trilogy of the first book I ever remember reading, The Hobbit. So, I mean, all in all, so far, it's going pretty well. Checking out some bookstores in England! The great mother country of America, mate! I'm just kidding, I'm lying. This is in England, we're still in New York. And we wanted to talk about the bookstore that we just saw because it was dope, so that's what we're doing right now. But when I first came into that bookstore, I was kinda like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little overwhelmed.
Me too.
And the thought that bookstore was just a tiny little piece of all the books I haven't read just gave me a little bit of anxiety until I started looking around and I started recognizing titles and authors. And I was like, I'm not a stranger in this place. What would you rate this bookstore 10 out of 10?
Definitely a 10. It was just so magical.
Bookstore, you get a 10 out of 10. If you're in the area, Plattsburgh, New York, check it out. This is Monroe Street Books, located in Middlebury, Vermont, and this place is massive. It felt more like a warehouse than a typical bookstore. Just look at this. Books, and even more books. Originally, this place was located on Monroe Street, but relocated for more space for books. Well, this place was everything I'd want from a bookstore. Variety, huge inventory, great staff, and amazing prices. Like every book was on sale. The sheer amount of books just reminded me of all the books I never finished, and all the books I never started, and all the books I never heard of.
So we just exited Monroe Street Books, and honestly, it was a really surreal, unique experience, I would say. How about you?
It was like, I felt like I was in an Alice in Wonderland dream.
Yeah, it really transports you to a whole different world. I did pick up a copy of Screenwriting for Narrative, Film, and Television. I'm excited about this book because I want to start screenwriting more. Let's go! Really nervous right now. We're on our way to go meet with a professional screenwriter, an amazing professor, and I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie to you. To get a writer's perspective on how to get back into reading, it's taken months at this point. So this is pretty big. I hope I don't f it up. And if I do, well, I mean, that's just the way I roll. Pretty much this whole thing is just kind of giving thanks to local bookstores and also like how to get back into reading for people who don't read anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this amazing person is Julia, screenwriter, professor, and the writer who answered my desperate plea. She's written for shows like Smallville, and she also works closely with companies like Netflix, one of the biggest production/streaming companies in the world. Just in case, you never heard of them.
I was just wondering, what would be like your first advice to anyone trying to get back into reading?
So my first advice to somebody who wants to get back into reading is to go to your local bookstore and like wander around, because it's so much fun to be able to actually pick up books and look at the back and be drawn into different books that way. And the other thing I would say is look through newspapers and magazines. And I know you're like, who does newspapers and magazines anymore? They're all online. But if you go online, you can see what's going to be coming out soon. If there's a certain website that you love, chances are they have a news website. Chances are there's an area of it that has book reviews. And if it's news that you're interested, or culture that you're interested, or whatever is your interest, chances are the books that they would choose might be right up your alley and get you started back in.
Does reading help you write? Does it take any role at all when it comes to your writing process?
I struggle all the time when I'm writing with if I should be reading while I'm writing and what I should be reading while I'm writing. And the truth is that reading does make me a better writer because it expands your word choice and how you choose to express things even without you realizing it, sort of subconsciously. And also, I think the one thing that's changed, when I first started writing, I would always read nonfiction books related to whatever I was writing about. I always wanted to read something that was directly on topic. And now I found that sometimes that can muddy what I'm doing with my stories, so I much rather read something that is completely different.
So as far as like your daily life and like just for you personally, like what kind of meaning does reading have for you?
I'm so glad you asked that. So when I was in college, I went to college in New York City, and it was totally overwhelming for me. And so I used to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art with a book and sit there and read and just look at all the people going by and look out the windows at Central Park, and it was my happy place. And then as I started working and writing and having a kid, everything became more important than reading, and I kind of lost that. And it was actually just last year that I realized that I need that in my life so much again. It just gets me to that place where I'm myself again if I feel like I've gotten frazzled and sort of lost track of who I am. As soon as I start reading a book, I get a sense of who I am.
As soon as I start reading a book, I get a sense of who I am. And for me, bookstores have been a part of that self-discovery. From Cornerstone to Monroe Street, all the way to the last bookstore we're going to.
This is it, the last bookstore, the Flying Pig.
Local doesn't just look like used books, it also looks like this. Immediately, you're greeted with fresh, new books waiting for you to crease their edges. A huge collection of children's books, popular titles, some books I'd personally recommend. Then it's more books. Here, there's something for everyone.
So I guess the first question I'd have for you is, what does the Flying Pig represent to you in the community?
To me, it represents, the impossible dream. We opened in a town of 3,500 people, not knowing anybody, and 25 years later, we're still here, and I think we're considered an anchor in the community. So we've had a wedding here. We had a baby take its first steps in the store. It's been a place where people came for comfort after 9/11, and I think it is a big part of the community.
So why should people care about local independent bookstores?
A bookstore in a community is an expression of that community. It's not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter establishment where they're deciding what you're going to read. So we bring in the books we love. We also respond to our community and what our community loves and bring in those books too. Every bookstore is unique. Every independent bookstore is unlike any other independent bookstore, and that's what makes them special. You never know what you're going to find on the shelves. It represents our staff, what our staff love and want to share with the community. I think if you lose that, you lose a lot of individuality, and you are stuck with a much narrower selection of things available to the public. Fewer hands those decisions are in, the more narrow the choices get. And so when you have 4,000 independent bookstores, you have a thriving, teeming exchange of ideas and information and inspiration and knowledge. If 2 or 3 giant companies are making the choices about what gets published and what gets put on shelves, you could see a lot of things change.
I can't imagine a world where I can't go to my local bookstore. I've discovered throughout the process of making this video that bookstores really are a place where I can access stories and experiences that I never would have been able to access otherwise. All thanks to my local bookstores and the staff and their recommendations. I've been able to reignite my passion for reading, all thanks to my local bookstores. And speaking of reading, let me show you all of the books I've read since starting this adventure about a month and a half ago. I know, it's been too long, I'm sorry for my absence, but one second. This right here is how many books I read in 2020. For me, 2020 wasn't a year to get back into reading. I just actually couldn't find the time nor the energy to devote to reading in 2020 just because of the pandemic and how stressful everything was. So I haven't actually finished Dune yet, but I'm getting pretty close, and I felt like, you know what, I've been reading Dune for so long, I deserve to put it on this list. I've been able to read what I feel like is a pretty decent amount of books, but I just want to say it doesn't matter how many books you read, it doesn't matter how many books you finish in an X amount of time. All that matters is that you're actively reading and that you're actively engaging in people's thoughts and people's perceptions, and you can do all of that through reading, and it doesn't even need to be reading books. Like, how many books a year do you think you read on average?
For books, probably about a dozen a year. But I'm a huge magazine reader, a huge short story reader, so I read a lot of short fiction.
If you were to walk away with just one thing from this video, I would just hope it was this inspiration to just pick up any book and read it and take your time and enjoy it. Why rush through something that you love? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more books on my list, and I just think it just goes to show you that once you start with something easy, something that you love, something familiar, like for me it was Stephen King, you can get the ball rolling, and then before you know it, you're spending all of your money on books, and you won't look back because it's money well spent.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
How do you think your life has actually changed since you started reading books again?
I've been a lot less anxious since I started reading again. I've just been able to slow down and appreciate things. And I feel like I'm learning more, which is so exciting. And I find this new urge to create again. This new urge to not only create more videos, but to also write more stories and just to create things that are gonna stand the test of time.
Okay, my last question is, what book would you recommend, one book, to someone who is trying to get back into reading?
That is such a good question. Well, my current favorite warm-hearted, lovely book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and it is a book that is charming, delightful, funny, warm, and manages to talk about big issues in a very light-handed way.
And to hopefully be someone who contributes to society in a way that may help shape and reform it.
I guess one last question would be, do you have any book recommendations, like your top, like your favorites?
It's so hard. So some of my favorite books are classic books, and I go back to them again and again. One of my favorites is Wide Sargasso Sea, which is the story of Jane Eyre, but taken from the point of view of the madwoman in the attic. There have been movies made of it that are horrible and that are nothing like the book.
And I think all of that just comes from reading. And every time I read a story, I just get these ideas of what I want to write and what I want to tell and what stories I want to create and what I want to share with the world. And I think that's all thanks to the books that I've been reading.
This is it, the last bookstore, the Flying Pig. We just rolled up to the first bookstore. Should be a fun time. Let's check this place out. Oh man, awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much.
You're
this
welcome.
was awesome. Oh, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.